Welcome to my channel. I hope today's story will be something you truly enjoy. Please support me even more. Now, let's begin the story.
My name is Cassandra Fletcher. That Sunday, my mom was throwing her big 70th birthday bash at the country club in Naples, Florida. She was up on stage with the microphone handing out annual SeaWorld passes to every single grandkid one by one, while the whole party clapped like it was the Oscars. When it got to my 8-year-old son Noah, she stopped, looked straight at me, smiled that tight little smile, and said loud enough for every table to hear, "Sorry, these passes aren't for kids without a dad." Then she turned and handed the last 3 envelopes to the neighbor's children right in front of him. Noah didn't scream. He didn't throw a fit. He just looked up at me like his entire world cracked. I didn't make a scene. I didn't lose it right there. I just took his hand, walked out, and on the drive home he asked in the tiniest voice, "Mom, did Grandma say that because I don't have a dad? Did I do something wrong?" That was the moment I knew this wasn't going to end with an apology. If you've ever had family treat your kid like they're less than, drop a heart and hit subscribe, because you're gonna want to hear how this one ends. 3 days later, Noah was back at school, acting like everything was normal, but I could see it in the way he hugged his backpack a little tighter every morning. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying my mom's voice over that microphone, the way the clapping died the second she finished her sentence. Around 2 a.m., I grabbed my laptop and started digging through old emails. That's when I found the paperwork from last spring, when she bragged nonstop about starting the Beverly Whitaker Family Scholarship Fund at our Methodist church. She'd needed a second signature to open the account because the bank required 2 signers for anything over $10,000. I'd signed as a favor, thinking it was just to get her off my back. I never removed my name. I logged in. The balance sat at $18,000, exactly money the congregation had donated over the past 14 months, so our family name could help deserving kids. My mom had turned it into her favorite bragging right at every coffee hour and women's Bible study. I didn't touch a single cent. I'm a nurse, not a thief. But I knew the fund's own bylaws by heart because I'd helped write them. Any co-signer can request an immediate administrative hold if there's reasonable concern about mismanagement. All it takes is one email to the bank and a copy to the church treasurer. At 2:17 a.m., I typed the letter, formal, cold, professional. I cited the exact clause attached to the scanned bylaws and hit send to both the bank compliance team and the church office. I added one line at the bottom, pending full independent audit. Please freeze all activity immediately. 11 minutes later, I got the automated reply from the bank account. Duvar 4871339 has been placed in restricted status. No withdrawals or transfers permitted until further notice. I stared at the screen until it went dark. My hands weren't even shaking. I felt quiet. Like I'd just flipped the first domino and there was no taking it back. The next morning, I took Noah to school and came home to 27 missed calls from my mom and a string of texts that started with "sweetheart" and ended with 3 pages of all caps about how ungrateful I was. I didn't answer any of them. By lunchtime, the church treasurer, Mrs. Langford, called me personally. She sounded nervous. "Cassandra, we've never had to do this before, but the bank confirmed the hold is active. Beverly's trying to write a check for the fall semester recipients and it bounced. She's asking a lot of questions." I told Mrs. Langford the truth. I had legitimate concerns about transparency and needed an outside audit before another dollar moved. She promised to schedule an emergency finance committee meeting that week. That night, Noah crawled into my bed at 3 a.m., something he hadn't done since he was 5. He whispered in the dark, "Mommy, is Grandma mad at you now because of me?" I pulled him close and told him the only thing I could. "No, baby. She's mad at me because I finally stopped letting her use money to control people." He fell asleep against my shoulder, breathing slow and even. Friday evening, my mom showed up unannounced, still in the pearl necklace she'd worn to her party. She didn't ring the bell, she just walked in like she still owned the place. Noah was in the living room coloring. She looked at him, then at me, and said, "Fix it. Call the bank on Monday and unfreeze my fund." I told her calmly that the hold stays until the audit is complete. She laughed short and sharp. "You think you're hurting me? That money was for the family name." I looked her dead in the eye. "Then the family name can wait for an audit." She left without another word, tires squealing down the street. The following Tuesday, I got the official letter from the church independent audit scheduled for the end of the month, all activity frozen indefinitely, and because I was still co-signer, I would be the only one allowed to approve any future disbursements once everything cleared. I folded the letter, slipped it into the drawer, and closed the laptop, and for the first time since that Sunday, I slept through the night. 2 weeks later, I opened the church Facebook group, and there it was, right at the top of my feed. My mom had posted a 20-photo carousel from SeaWorld cousins screaming on roller coasters, aunts holding giant balloons, the Larson kids front and center clutching brand new neon wristbands and stuffed animals, my mom's arms wrapped around their shoulders like they were the only grandchildren she had. The caption read, "Making priceless memories with all my beautiful grandbabies," followed by 15 pink heart emojis. Noah's face wasn't in a single picture. That same afternoon, Noah walked in from school, dropped his backpack by the door, went straight to the kitchen drawer, where he kept the grandma-only artwork, pulled out every single drawing he'd ever made for her. The rainbows, the stick figure families, the "I love grandma" hearts, and tore them into tiny pieces without making a sound. He let the scraps fall into the trash like confetti, washed his hands at the sink, and asked for apple slices with peanut butter and ate them at the table like nothing had happened. Friday evening, the doorbell rang 3 short, angry bursts. I opened it to find my mom standing on the porch in cream linen pants. Diamond studs flashing, no gift bag. This time, no practice smile. She pushed past me into the foyer the way she'd done my whole life, like the deed was still in her name. Noah was on the living room rug building a Lego spaceship. She stopped in the doorway, arms folded so tight her knuckles went white. "I came to see my grandson," she announced to the room loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Noah glanced up, registered who it was, and went back to clicking bricks together. "Noah, come. Give Grandma a hug right now." He kept building. She took one step closer. "Young man, I'm speaking to you." Silence. That's when she turned to me, voice sharp as a blade. "See, weak." Exactly like his mother at that age. Never could stand up straight when it mattered. Noah's hands froze midair. The Lego piece he was holding clattered to the floor. He stood up, slowly walked past both of us without looking up, went straight to his bedroom and slammed the door so hard the windows shook and a picture frame crashed off the wall. I turned to her. "Get out of my house." She gave that short, bitter laugh I knew too well. "You think you're teaching me a lesson? You need me more than out. Now." For one heartbeat, I thought she'd fight. Instead, she spun on her heel, marched back to the white Cadillac, reversed out of the driveway fast enough to leave rubber on the street, and disappeared around the corner. I found Noah sitting on his bed, knees pulled to his chest, staring at the wall. I'd painted spaceship gray when he was 5. I sat beside him. We stayed quiet for what felt like hours. Finally, he spoke, voice small but steady. "Mom, I don't want to see Grandma anymore. Ever." My chest cracked wide open, but I kept my voice calm. "Okay, baby." He looked up at me, eyes completely dry. "Is that bad?" "No," I said. "That's you deciding who gets to be in your life. And that's never bad." He nodded once, then crawled into my lap like he used to when he was 4. I held him until the streetlights came on outside, and the house settled into a silence I hadn't felt in years. Later, after I tucked him in and kissed his forehead, I stood in the hallway a long time. Something irreversible had just happened. It wasn't me shielding him anymore. He had just drawn the line himself. Monday morning came and I knew exactly what I had to do. I poured coffee, sat at the kitchen table while Noah finished his cereal, and called Aunt Marlene Whitaker Coleman, my mom's younger sister, and the church treasurer for the last 15 years. She answered on the first ring. "Cassie. I've been waiting," she said before I even said hello. I swallowed hard. "I'm sending you 4 audio files from Mom's birthday party and the names of 3 witnesses who were standing less than 10 feet away. When you have 30 minutes, I have 30 minutes right now." I attached everything and hit send while we were still on the line. She stayed quiet as the files transferred. When the last one finished, she let out a slow, furious breath. "Emergency session meeting tonight at 7, she said, voice like steel. "I'm playing these on the sanctuary sound system. You do not need to be there." I closed my eyes. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," she repeated and hung up. That night, I kept Noah up a little later, reading 3 extra chapters of his spaceship book, anything to keep my mind busy. At 9:27 p.m., my phone buzzed with one text from Marlene, a single thumbs-up emoji. Nothing else. Tuesday, 7:58 a.m. The church website posted the announcement every member sees with their coffee. After review of recorded evidence involving the public humiliation of a minor child at a private family event, the session has voted unanimously to decline the Whitaker family's $25,000 annual pledge, effective immediately. Mrs. Beverly Whitaker is no longer permitted on church property for worship events or any other purpose until further notice. We ask the congregation to pray for healing in all affected families. By 8:15, the private Facebook group had 428 reactions and comments pouring in faster than I could refresh. Some posted prayer hands, others straight up "finally." At 9:03, the country club called. My mom's membership paid through 2026 was suspended due to conduct that violates our community standards. The manager actually apologized to me. By 10, the first casserole appeared on my porch, with a note in perfect Sunday school handwriting: "We are so sorry. Love the Ramirez family." By noon, there were 6 more. My freezer had never been so full. At 1:17 p.m., the Naples Daily News ran a short article on page A3, longtime Naples philanthropist removed from local church following incident at private celebration. No names in the headline, but everyone in town knew exactly who it was. At 2:45, Carol Ann. My mom's best friend since 1974 called me sobbing. She showed up at my house at 6 this morning screaming that the recordings were AI generated. When I told her I heard them myself last night, she called me Judas and drove off. At 4:12, the preschool sent an email saying several parents had asked if Noah needed anything after the family matter that has been in the news. At 6:00 p.m. OM, Marlene pulled into my driveway in her silver Lexus. She walked in, kicked off her heels, poured herself iced tea, and handed me a thick cream envelope sealed with the church crest. Inside was the new scholarship charter already signed by the entire finance committee. Page 1, bold letters: Noah Fletcher Single Parent Family Scholarship, Annual Full Ride Award renewable through college, funded anonymously in perpetuity. I stared at her. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did," she said. "I've waited 22 years of interest to pay back." Noah wandered in looking for juice. Marlene crouched down, opened her arms. He ran straight into them and hugged her neck like she was the safest place on earth. She whispered something in his ear that made him giggle, then looked up at me. "The vote was 14-0, she said quietly. "Even the 2 women who've taught Sunday school with your mother for 30 years voted yes." "Your mom tried to speak. The head deacon asked her to leave. She refused. Security walked her out." She paused. "Beverly lost her stage, her money, and her audience in less than 24 hours. She's going to come for you harder now. Be ready." I nodded. I was. A month and a half later, the siege began. The white Cadillac started rolling past the house every few days, crawling so slowly I could see her silhouette behind the tinted windows. Sometimes it just sat at the curb for 10 full minutes before drifting away. Wilted roses showed up on the porch in crystal vases, cards in her perfect cursive, "Grandma loves you, Noah." I miss my little man. I left them where they landed until the sprinklers turned the ink to purple streaks and the ants claimed the petals. The voicemails came in waves. First they were soft, broken by tears. "I made a terrible mistake. Please let me see him. I'm so sorry." Then they grew longer, 5 full minutes of sobbing about how empty the house felt, how the church had turned its knife in her back, how I was stealing her only grandchild. Then the tone flipped cold. One night she left 9 messages back to back. The final one was pure venom. "If you don't let me see Noah this week, I'm filing for court-ordered grandparent visitation. The judge is going to ask why a loving grandmother is being kept from her only grandson. And I'll make sure he hears every detail about how you locked up money meant for needy children." 2 days later, a new Facebook profile appeared under the name Concerned Naples, Grandma, and began posting in the church group, "Please pray for a mother falsely accused of stealing charity funds by her own daughter." The comments exploded with question marks until Marlene had the account banned. The following weekend, a silver sedan I didn't recognize parked across the street from dawn to dusk. I photographed the plate and sent it to Marlene's attorney. The next Monday, a process server rang the bell with court papers claiming I was alienating the child from his only remaining grandparent and requesting twice monthly supervised visits. I refused to sign. Marlene's lawyer shredded the filing the same afternoon. That same week, my mom showed up after dark, pounding on the door hard enough to rattle the hinges. Noah woke up crying. I watched through the peephole as she screamed that I was destroying everything she'd built. A neighbor called the police. The responding officer recognized her immediately, but still issued a trespass warning on the spot. She drove off with tires squealing. The morning after the police visit, Marlene's attorney sent a certified mail by courier. Any further direct or indirect contact, attempted visitation, or defamatory statements will result in immediate release of 4 authenticated recordings to the Naples Daily News, Wink News, and the Collier County Sheriff's Office for investigation of harassment and emotional abuse of a minor. This is your final notice. 48 hours of perfect silence followed. Then at 2:03 a.m., one last voicemail from a blocked number. Her voice was hoarse, shaking with rage, and something that almost sounded like terror. "You think this is over? You think freezing my money and turning my own church against me makes you the hero of the year? I built every connection you pretend to have. Every friend you think is on your side will drop you the second they see what a vicious, ungrateful daughter you really are. I will spend whatever it takes to make sure every soul in this town knows you're the woman who destroyed her own mother. I swear on my life, Cassandra, you will live to regret this." I played it once, saved it, forwarded it to the attorney, blocked the number, and finally slept. The next day, I changed every lock, installed Ring cameras at every corner, and filed my own police report. The officer taking the statement shook his head. "Mrs. Whitaker brought us cookies every Christmas for 30 years. Hard to believe this is the same woman." Noah asked about the new cameras. I told him we were just being extra safe. He nodded, completely unbothered. "I like safe," he said, and went back to his Legos. After that, the street stayed empty. No Cadillac, no flowers, no messages, no more fake Facebook accounts. My mom had finally run out of moves. 6 months passed and the mailbox finally brought something good. A thick cream envelope with the church crest I now knew by heart. Inside was a letter on heavy stationery. "Dear Noah Fletcher, it is our privilege to inform you that you have been selected as the inaugural recipient of the Marlene Coleman Single Parent Family Scholarship. This award guarantees full tuition, books, and fees from elementary school through college at any accredited institution of your choice. The commitment is lifelong and non-revocable. Noah read it out loud 3 times, eyes wide, then looked up at me. Does this mean I get to go to any school I want forever? I laughed until I cried. Yes, baby. Forever. 2 weeks later, the church workers quietly removed my mom's name from every brass plaque in the building. The one that used to say, "In loving memory of Harold Whittaker, gift of his wife Beverly," was replaced with a new plate that simply read, "Anonymous donor." The old plaques disappeared into storage, never to return. Old friends stopped inviting her to Bridge Club Book Club, the annual charity gala. The Christmas card list that once had 200 names shrank to a handful of pity signatures. People crossed the street when they saw her coming at Publix. The Marco Island beach house went on the market in early spring. The realtor's photos showed empty rooms and motivated seller in the listing. Word was she needed cash fast for legal fees and back taxes. The IRS suddenly decided to audit after an anonymous tip. One Thursday, a plain white envelope arrived, no return address, postmarked Naples. 6 handwritten pages in my mom's unmistakable cursive. She wrote about her childhood, my father's death, how proud she'd been the day I was born, how she only wanted the family to look perfect from the outside. Page 4 turned to begging just one visit. 1 hour. I'll meet you anywhere. I need to see my grandson before it's too late. The last page was stained with tears or perfume, I couldn't tell. I sat Noah down at the kitchen table after dinner. Grandma wrote you a letter. Do you want me to read it to you? He thought about it, then nodded. I read every word. When I finished, the kitchen was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Noah looked at the pages, then at me. I don't want to see her, he said, calm and certain. I already have a family. He got up, gave me a hug, and went to play with the new telescope Marlene had bought him. I folded the letter, slipped it back into the envelope, and dropped it in the fireplace that night. The paper curled and blackened fast. Marlene started flying down every other weekend. Noah began calling her Grandma Marlene without anyone prompting him. She taught him how to bait a fishing hook, let him win at gin rummy, and never once mentioned my mother's name. The scholarship fund grew. Other single moms in the congregation applied. The waiting list filled within weeks. Noah's picture beaming in front of the school sign became the fund's official poster child. One Sunday in May, I drove past the old church just to see. The parking lot was full, but the spot my mom had claimed for 40 years sat empty. No one saved it for her anymore. 2 years later, Noah turned 10, all long legs and fearless grin. He races his bike without training wheels, now scores goals in weekend soccer, and tells anyone who asks that he wants to be an astronaut when he grows up. The shy kid who once asked if he'd done something wrong is gone. In his place is a boy who laughs loud and hugs hard. On our living room wall hangs the framed certificate from the Marlene Coleman Single Parent Family Scholarship Gold Seal and everything. Noah dusts it every Sunday like it's the most important thing we own. Next to it is the photo of him and Grandma Marlene on the pier holding up matching redfish sunburned cheeks and pure joy. Marlene flies down almost every Friday night now. She has her own key, her own coffee mug, and a permanent bedroom we call Grandma's room. Noah started calling her Grandma Marlene all on his own one weekend, and she cried so hard she couldn't speak for 10 minutes. Now it's just who she is to him. The scholarship fund she built has already helped 9 other kids in our county. Every year on Noah's birthday, they send him drawings and thank you notes. He keeps every single one in a box under his bed and reads them when he needs reminding that good things can come from hard ones. My mom still lives in the big house on Gulf Shore, but the circular driveway stays empty. The Christmas lights never went up last year. The mailman says most days it's just bills and advertisements. The neighbors say they haven't seen her walk the dog in months. Someone told me she sold the Cadillac and takes ride shares now. No one stops to chat anymore. Her name has been quietly removed from every donor board in town. The country club membership lapsed without renewal. The church directory lists her number as disconnected. On the rare occasions anyone spots her downtown, she keeps her eyes on the sidewalk. The beach house on Marco Island sold last spring. The listing said estate sale. Everything must go. I heard the closing took 45 days because of liens and back taxes. Noah never asks about her, not once. He has Grandma Marlene's soccer teammates, school friends, and a mom who finally sleeps through the night. That's enough. People still message me sometimes. Any word from your mother? My answer is always the same. No. And we're okay with that. Because here's what I learned and what I want every single one of you to hear. Never ever use a child as a weapon against your own kid. Never make a little boy or girl feel small to prove a point to an adult. One day that child grows up, looks around the room, and chooses for themselves who actually deserves a place in their life. And when they choose, it's forever. Noah chose peace. He chose love without strings. He chose us. And that choice took every brick my mother spent 70 years stacking and turned her perfect world to dust. So if you're watching this and someone in your family thinks hurting a kid is fair game in an adult fight, remember this story. The kids are always watching. They remember everything. And when they're old enough, they vote with their hearts. Noah voted. The door is closed. And it's staying closed. That's the end.